Next up is the Merge Surface to Edge tool. As we can see, we have some continuity selections, position, tangent, and curvature. You've seen those before. I'm leaving mine on tangent, which works usually the best. And we can enter a factor which determines the extent of the curvature. I'll leave mine at 20. I'm going to use these two. And we simply data point on one surface and on the next surface, and we give it a try. We can change the surface normals, of course, by clicking on the arrows if things don't work. So let's data point and see. Everything's fine. So that's what we get. Quite a nice surface, quite a nice curve. So you might think of this as a more sophisticated version of the Stitch Surfaces tool. So experiment with that. Change the continuities and change the factor to smaller and larger values and see what happens. Now let's move on to the next one, which is this one. And here we're going to use the next tool, which is Fillet Surfaces. Very similar to the standard fillet surfaces in the regular drawing tools, except that we get some options. First of all, we can truncate neither surface that we're going to fillet, or both or first. I'm leaving mine at neither right now. And we have an option for face only. I'm going to use that right now. And that option allows us to place a fillet on one edge only. If we take that off, then all edges which intersect the surfaces will be filleted. Leave that on. Now my radius here is 0.1 of an inch, and that works for the example that we have here. But be careful with this. If you try a fillet, for example, with a larger value, you might get a message which says, unable to create fillet, try another radius. That's the warning you get in the status line. And this usually means that the radius is too large for the surfaces to be filleted. So change the values and try again. Keep in mind too that the surfaces to be filleted must be in contact. Now in this case, what we have, and I'm going to do a rotate here, you'll note that the vertical square tube has no holes in it on the inside, and that the circular surface penetrates the rectangular vertical surface. So I'm going to zoom in, look very closely at this junction here, and we'll see how this tool works. So it's running. I'm not going to truncate anything at this point, and face only is on, so I only want a fillet on one edge in this case. Identify the first surface, that'll be the large tube, and identify the face. I move my cursor over and that face is identified. That's the one I want, data point. The normal arrow displays. Identify second surface, that's this one. Identify the face, that's where I am right now, data point again. I see my two arrows. And I see the fillet in place. If that's what I want, then I can data point to accept. If I don't see the fillet, for example, if that is pointing the wrong way, then this surface won't be filleted, and I can see that it won't. So I can change the surface normals. Well, that doesn't help. Let's put that back. Let's try this one. There. So that works fine. So you can change the surface normals until you see the actual fillet. Then I can go and data point and accept the fillet. And there's the fillet itself. Now the fillet is a surface. It is not a solid. So think of it in those terms. And you should be aware that the type of fillet is called a constant radius rolling ball fillet, simply meaning that the radius is constant throughout the length of the fillet. Let's undo that. Let's try on the cylindrical part here to do that surface. So everything's running. Let's truncate the first one this time. Leave the radius where it is, face is off, and that's off by default because I've just decided to truncate the first one. So select the first surface, that's that, and the first face, that's that. Select the second surface, that's the tube, that's that. And we see the fillet in place, data point, and we have it. Let's zoom outwards and let's do a rotate to see what we get. Now you see that we have actually punched a hole through the rectangular surface because we've trimmed it. So relatively simple tool to use, but just be careful how you select the two surfaces and make sure which one you're selecting first and which truncates you have set in relation to the surface selections.